Namaste. After discussing Indian music and its various forms, today we will discuss classification of Indian instruments. We'll see the introduction. Indian classical instruments play a pivotal role in both Hindustani and Carnatic classical music traditions. Their function is not merely to produce sound, but to support, embellish and enhance the complex systems of melody and rhythm, which is rag and tal, which are the foundation of Indian classical music. We will see the role of instruments. Melodic role. Indian classical instruments, especially melodic ones like sitar, veena, sarangi and bansuri, are designed to express the microtonal nuances of the raga system. These instruments are played with an emphasis on ornamentation like gamaks, meens and the murkis to bring out the emotional depth of each rag. One of the unique features of Indian classical music is the emphasis on improvisation. Instruments like sitar, sarod and violin are often used for elaborate improvisations in sections like alap, jor, jhala and tans, which help in developing and unfolding the rag. Instruments like the tanpura provide a continuous drone throughout the performance, which creates a harmonic base of the melodic instrument to build upon, ensuring a constant reference to the tonic. Then we have rhythmic role. Percussion instruments like tabla or mridangam in case of Carnatic music are central to rhythmic structure of Indian classical music. They play intricate rhythmic patterns and cycles that shape the temporal aspect of a composition. Each tal has its unique pattern of beats called matra that is repeated in cycles. Drums such as tabla and mridangam interact closely with melody to enhance the emotional intensity of a performance. Their ability to change dynamics, accentuate their certain beats and add rhythmic improvisations known as tihai in Hindustani music or korvai in Carnatic music. It creates a profound impact on the listener. Percussion instruments also serve the critical function of guiding the performance through the structure of composition. For example, the sum, which is known as the first beat of tal cycle, is often emphasized by the drummer to cue the musician back to the start of the rhythmic cycle, supporting and accompanying role of the instruments. The tanpura is a vital supporting instrument in both Hindustani and Carnatic music. It provides a continuous drone, setting the tonic and establishing the tonal quality framework of the performance. This drone creates a meditative atmosphere and helps maintain the pitch stability for the lead musician. Sarangi, violin and harmonium instruments often play the role of accompaniment, supporting vocalist or lead instruments by playing along with the main melody, filling in gaps during pauses, and sometimes improvising in harmony. The violin in Carnatic music is known for its seamless support to vocal performances, mimicking the intricacies of human voices. Spiritual and cultural role. Many instruments in Indian classical music are considered sacred and hold deep spiritual significance. Instruments like veena are associated with the goddess Saraswati, the Hindu goddess of knowledge and music. Classical instruments are often used in temple rituals, spiritual ceremonies and religious festivals. meditative and healing role. The drone of the tanpura, the rich tonal qualities of sitar and sarangi, and the rhythmic vibrations of tabla are believed to have a meditative and healing effect. Indian classical music, with its focus on balance and harmony, is often used in yogic and meditative practices to promote mental clarity and peace. Fusion and global music. Indian classical instruments have played a significant role in cross-cultural and fusion music. Artists like Ravi Shankar, Zakir Hussain and L. Subramaniam have introduced Indian instruments to global audience. These instruments have been used in collaborations with Western classical, jazz and world music, influencing genres like fusion and even pop. Modern adaptation. With the rise of world music, Indian classical instruments have been incorporated into contemporary music styles. For example, the tabla is frequently used in electronic music and Bollywood soundtracks. The versatility, modern adaptations. With the rise of world music, Indian classical instruments have been incorporated into contemporary music styles. For example, the tabla is frequently used in electronic music and Bollywood soundtracks. The versatility and uniqueness of Indian instruments make them a valuable tool for blending different musical traditions. Instrumental solo performances. Many instruments in Indian classical music serve as the main solo instruments during concerts. Instruments like sitar, sarod and veena are often showcased in long solo performances where the musician explores the rag in depth, starting with slow meditative sections and building up so faster, more intricate passages. In instrumental performances, a common feature is the interplay between the lead instrument and the percussionist. Especially in faster rhythmic section, the tabla or mridangam often engages in a call-response pattern with the lead instrument, showcasing the skill of both performers. Innovation and experimentation. Many modern Indian musicians have pushed the boundaries of classical instruments. They have modified instruments like sitar and tabla to suit contemporary sounds, and some have even developed new instruments like zitar and electronic sitar. Blending with electronics. Instruments like sitar and tabla are now frequently used with electronic effects and synthesizers, creating new sonic textures in fusion music. Classical instruments have adapted to new technologies while maintaining their traditional essence. Indian classical instruments play a crucial role in shaping melody, rhythm and structure of performance. Whether through expressing the deep emotions of raga, anchoring the rhythm in a tal or supporting other musicians, these instruments form the backbone of Indian classical music. Their spiritual and cultural significance combined with their adaptability in modern contexts ensure that they remain timeless and continue to influence global music. After discussing the role of instruments, we will move on to classification of Indian instruments. We classify Indian instruments broadly into two major categories, that is percussion, talvadya, and another one non-percussion, which is swarvadya. You can see the picture where various instruments are being shown. So, broadly these instruments are classified into two subcategories, two main categories, percussion and non-percussion, where percussion instruments are membraphone as well as the idiophones, which will support tal, and in non-percussion all the swarvadya, chordophones, aerophones, it will be included in non-percussion category. So, we will discuss Chaturvadya fourfold classification now. The classification of Indian musical instruments is rooted in the ancient treatises like Natya Shastra by Bharat Muni, which categorizes Indian instruments based on how sound is produced. This traditional classification divides instruments into 4 categories known as Chaturvadya fourfold classification. In more modern contexts, we also see Indian instruments being classified similarly to Western families like string, wind and percussion. Let's dive into the detailed classification of Indian instruments based on their traditional grouping and discuss prominent examples for each. First, we have Tatavadya, string instruments, also known as chordophones. Instruments where sound is produced by vibrating strings stretched over a resonating body. The sound can be modified by plucking, bowing or striking the strings. There are subcategories into this category, which are plucked and bowed instruments. Plucked instruments, also known as Tatavadya. Sitar is one of the most well-known instrument in Hindustani music. The sitar has 6 to 7 main strings and several sympathetic strings that resonates. It is played by plucking the strings with a plectrum, mizrab. Veena, a South Indian classical instrument, the Saraswati Veena is the most iconic. It is played by plucking with a deep resonant tonic tone suited to Carnatic music. Sarod, another important instrument in Hindustani music. The sarod has a fretless fingerboard and produces a deep earthy sound. It is played with a plectrum and produces smooth sliding notes called meend. We have bowed string instruments, also known as Vitat Vadya. Sarangi, a bowed instrument used in Hindustani classical music. The sarangi is known for its close imitation to the human voice. It is often used to accompany vocalists and also played in solo performances. Violin, although a Western instrument, the violin has become an integral part of Indian classical music. Particularly Carnatic music, it is played sitting cross-legged with the scroll resting on the ankle, and its flexibility allows it to emulate the complex ornamentation of Indian rag. Other string instruments, Israj, Dilruba, these are string instruments in North India, combining elements of the sarangi and sitar. They are played with a bowed and are more common in devotional and light music. Tanpura, although not used for playing melodies, the tanpura is essential in providing a continuous drone to support the soloist by establishing the tonic, kshadj, and creating a harmonic backdrop. Second category of instruments we have Avanadha, which is percussion instruments and also known as membranophones or drums. These instruments have sound which is produced by the vibration of a stretched membrane or skin, usually by striking it with hands, fingers or sticks. These instruments are central to maintaining rhythm and tempo in performances. We have tabla, a pair of drum. The tabla is the principal percussion instrument in Hindustani classical music. The smaller drum, daya, produces higher pitched sounds, while the larger drum, baya, offers bass tones. Tabla players manipulate pitch by varying finger pressure on the drum skin, allowing for incredible rhythmic complexity and improvisation. We have mridangam, the primary drum in Carnatic music. The mridangam is a two-headed drum with a barrel-shaped body. It produces different tones on each side, providing a range of rhythmic possibilities and pitch control. Dholak, a widely used drum in Indian folk and light classical music. It is a barrel-shaped drum with two heads but does not allow much control over pitch. Pakhavaj, an ancestor of the tabla, the pakhavaj is a barrel-shaped drum used in Hindustani classical music, particularly in Dhrupad performances. It provides deep, resonant sound but is very less versatile than the tabla. Kanjira, small frame drum used in South Indian Carnatic music. It has a single membrane and produces sharp, high-pitched sounds. Third category of instruments we have Sushir Vadya, which are wind instruments, are also known as aerophones. These instruments produce sound by blowing air through a tube, either across a hole, through a reed, or directly into the instrument. Wind instruments in the Indian classical music are also known for their ability to convey subtle nuances of the rag. Flute-like instruments, bansuri, a side-blown bamboo flute. The bansuri is key to Hindustani music. Its soulful sound, coupled with its ability to produce slides and subtle microtonal shifts, make it perfect for raga music. The bansuri is associated with Lord Krishna and is often used in devotional and folk music as well. Venu, the South Indian counterpart of the bansuri, the Venu is used in Carnatic music and has a similar bamboo construction. Double reed instruments. Shehnai, a wind instrument with a double reed. The shehnai is played during wedding and religious ceremonies. Its sound is known as celebratory yet plaintive tone and is often used in Hindustani classical music. Nadaswaram, the South Indian equivalent of shehnai, the Nadaswaram is louder and more powerful, used mainly in temple music and large outdoor performances. It is considered one of the world's loudest non-brass wind instruments. Other instruments like harmonium, although a western reed organ, the harmonium is commonly used in Indian classical and devotional music. It is a keyboard instrument where sound is produced by pumping air through reeds, and it is especially prevalent in vocal accompaniment. The fourth and the last category of classification we have Ghanavadya, solid instruments known as idiophones. These are instruments where sound is produced by the vibration of the instrument's solid body, either by striking, shaking or clapping. These instruments typically do not have a membrane or string and are used for rhythm and accompaniment. Metal idiophones, manjira, small hand cymbals used in devotional music such as bhajans and kirtans. They are played by clapping together, producing a sharp metallic sound. Kartal, a pair of wooden blocks or metal plates that are clapped together to produce sound. It is often used in folk and devotional music for rhythmic accompaniment. Clay and metal instruments. Ghatam, a South Indian percussion instrument made up of clay The ghatam is played with the hands, producing a wide range of sounds depending on where it is struck. It is used in Carnatic music and creates a unique resonant tone. Jaltarang, a set of oaklem or metal bowls filled with water. The jaltarang is played by striking the rims with sticks. By adjusting the water level in the bowls, musicians can alter the pitch. Wooden instruments. Khartal, a type of castanet used in Rajasthani folk music. It is made up of wood and is played by clapping, producing rhythmic sounds. Chimta, a traditional folk instrument from Punjab. Chimta consists of two long, flat metal strips with jingling bells attached. It is played by striking the two strips together. The classification of Indian instruments, both traditional and modern, highlights the diversity and complexity of Indian musical heritage. Each type of instrument plays a unique role, whether it is melodic exploration of raga through sitar, the rhythmic intricacies of tabla, or the meditative drone of tanpura. These instruments are not just tools for producing music, but are deeply intertwined with the cultural, spiritual and emotional fabric of Indian classical music. I hope you have understand the significance of categorization or classification of these Indian instruments and their crucial role in Indian classical music. Thank you.